living in so many different places and getting to see so many different foods and cultures and things like that has really broadened my horizons for what I like in food and dining out. Honestly, it's like food blogging is the best job in the world.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the greatest show on earth.
Welcome to the Three Guys Podcast, hosted by Brian, Derek, and Brett. We had another great interview last week, Brian. You missed it.
I heard the highlights, the Cuban coffee.
We did. And the good thing is, we're going to keep it on the West Coast today. We're staying West Coast. We're on the East Coast, but we're staying West Coast. We're starting up north in the Hollywood area, and then we're going down south to San Diego. That's like your home turf.
Yeah,
Partial, right?
Lived out there back in 2000 for a year. Some awesome memories, friends that I have to this day, especially one real particular one who knows who he is. That's holds a special place with me, and I recommend everyone going out there at least once in their life to see that beautiful area of the country.
Yeah, that place is fantastic. So when we talk to our guest today, I want to ask her some questions about that area. I didn't really grow to appreciate it until like a couple of trips later when we went out there to visit you again. And then a couple of years later when we went out for a wedding where we got to kind of experience the area again. So we wanted to tell, for the listeners, we have some really good guests that we've had on, awesome guests that we've been getting some like really good feedback on. And we have a lot more to come in the future here. Before I just ask you guys about kind of who the next couple of those people are that are going to be visiting us and sitting down to talk with us, we do want to just let the listeners know that anyone that has any, individuals that they know or their families, friends, and they want to recommend them to the show and have them come on with us, by all means, reach out to us. Derek, a couple of the guests that you were talking to us before we just started. You got some good feedback, and maybe you can kind of elaborate on that a little bit more with your headphones.
There we go again. Yeah, and I see you have new headphones as well today.
I do.
Yeah, so
I thought you guys were going to pick that out a little bit sooner.
No, you know what? I just noticed it now. Anyways.
Oh, yeah, just paying attention to yourself. One-way street.
Well, anyways. Yeah, no, I have I have a former employee. He created his own podcast. He worked with me at the movie theater, and he's grown up, and he's gung-ho and pumped up to be on the a couple episodes down the road. And I said to him, you created a podcast, and I've always wanted to do a podcast, and I saw you do one, and I said to myself, you know what, that was the little click that I needed to say, hey, I should go out and try this. And I told him that, and he said to me, he goes, if that's what you gain from my podcast, then basically my podcast has been a success. And that's what I look at. And I had another friend of mine reach out to me about bringing on his possibly bringing on his wife, who's got some interesting stories dealing with younger teenage girls about motivation and confidence building. And I just think that anyone wants to come on here. As I was telling him, we're doing this for fun. We want to help people out if all possible. Services, arts, business, motivation, confidence, trust, whatever, anything that we can bring onto the show. And so anyone wants to reach out to us.
Yeah, we've got a lot of that over the last couple of episodes. It's been a lot of great feedback. Brian, what do you got?
So I'm looking forward to a few that we have on the business side. A couple of gentlemen that I actually grew up with here in Haverhill, Massachusetts, that I think both actually live in Florida now. Both are, one's the CEO, and I think the other one is a shoe designer. And I think he actually owns his own company. But both have unbelievable stories to tell about just their upbringing. And, it was pretty tough, from where they grew up. Both are just great guys, have unbelievable reputations within their industry, and I can't wait to have them on the next couple of weeks. But like Derek said, or Brett, maybe it was you, we want people to bring their stories, and if it's inspirational, it can be funny. But if somebody
seriously
from it,
we could have a round table, and I'm not joking when I say this. I know we're going to get a chuckle out of this, but if people want to sit down and debate whether a Yeti or the abominable snowman is real, I'm being serious. We can have fun things with that, and or aliens or UFOs or
that's Scott and his Aaron will come in for that.
I don't know. But I mean, seriously, have fun with this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the part I mentioned to you guys the other day is that I want to do this, and because my hopes are that you start aligning people that otherwise wouldn't meet each other, right? Because they listen to the podcast and they hear someone else's story.
Yeah.
I would like to do, and we can talk more, IG lives and getting people on where you bring two of our past guests on and one of us moderates it, and then you can sit there with a couple questions and those people have opportunity to meet each other, and then from there that leads into something else potentially as well.
And if I may add, I mean, also we have a couple platforms that we're working on, and one of them is YouTube, and I have some content that we're working on that particular page that's going to be geared towards very specific items that we discuss on this particular podcast. It's going to be short, very, maybe 10, 15 minutes, but people that are going to maybe follow up on that discussion, go push things a little forward that we didn't think of, but people that, again, have good expertise in whatever that subject is. So 100%
you make a good point there, because there's a lot of time I'm listening to interviews and I'm thinking of a question that I have, but you're a listener, so you have an opportunity to kind of process that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like if you get that on IG, that gives someone, you can have like some of the people that are watching that kind of join in and kind of ask their questions on that.
Yeah.
I know we have our guest.
A quick funny story before we get to the guest is that Brian would like this. The other day, I don't want to say name names because no one's going to know who this person is, but the person sent me a quick thing on Facebook and said, "Oh, I heard said it to me. He said, "Oh, I heard you're really good at flying kites." And I said, "I don't know where you got this from, but I'm not part of that group who likes flying kites. I don't know where you heard this, but." We'll have to tell that inside joke and a future time. So Brian, I know we have our guest. She's probably patiently waiting for us. You want to bring her in?
Yeah. So today's guest is Kaylee Daniels. I should disclose Kaylee and I do work together, but we're not going to talk about work stories. That's not why she's joining us. Kaylee Daniels is a food blogger, Instagrammer, influencer in beautiful San Diego, California. And she's got an incredible personality. She's one of the best salespeople in the country. She grew up in California, spent some time here in Massachusetts going to school at Boston University. But I'm really psyched that she can join us. And maybe she can even teach us a couple of things about dining out and what we should look for. So with no further ado, I'll have Kaylee join us. Hi, Kaylee. Welcome to Three Guys in a Podcast.
Hi. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Kaylee. So let me do the intros real quick. Okay. You know me.
Yes.
And we have Derek DiPetrillo. He's in my left corner here. I don't know where he is on your screen. Yeah. And then we have Brett DiPetrillo.
How you doing, Kailey?
Oh, so you're brothers.
Unfortunately, yes.
You guys just all have the same last name in Boston.
Yeah, well, that could be that.
Actually, too. As of last week, I was doing my podcast from Mars, according to someone on here.
Kaylee, thank you so much for joining us. I know how busy you are. I know things are busy for everybody right now. We were just talking a little about you and your introduction. And there was a couple things that I missed. So before we get going, and I know we all have questions for you, and we all get very hungry when we look at your Instagram page.
Yeah.
At least
that's an understatement.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from? Maybe sort of you mentioned that. I know you spent some time here. Maybe talk about that and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, I'm originally born in San Jose in the Bay Area. And then when I went to college, I decided to go to Boston University. So spent 4 years in Boston, almost 4 years. I did do some time abroad where I got to live in London, which was really, really fun. And then I started to work for Hilton right after college, where I worked for the Hilton New Orleans. And then once I finished my training program there, I transferred into San Diego, where I've been now for almost 4 years. So kind of been all over for the last, I guess, 6 years or so, 7 years have been all over, but definitely enjoyed my time in Boston. So excited to be talking to you guys. And I guess in terms of like how it relates with like my food blogging and things like that is living in so many different places and getting to see so many different foods and cultures and things like that has really broadened my horizons for what I like in food and dining out. And then also just being able to be grateful and try all these different cuisines. Honestly, it's like food blogging is the best job in the world. I wish I could do it full time.
So you grew up in San Jose. I don't know why I thought Sacramento, but so you grew up in San Jose and you went to Boston University.
Yeah.
Was Boston University the first time you'd been up to the Northeast?
I had gone to New York as a kid. Like I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, did the whole Empire State Building, Statue of Liberty tour, ate bagels, things like that. But I had not gone to the East Coast apart from that, really.
How did you decide on going to BU?
I wanted to do hospitality school. So I had kind of chosen hotels as my path. I worked at front desk in high school, and BU is the second best hospitality program in the nation, right after Cornell. I'm not really like a small town girl, so I didn't really want to go to Cornell and be in the middle of Ithaca. I thought Boston was better. I liked that it was a city school. I liked that it was kind of like in the heart of Boston. So
Sure.
I toured it in the summertime, which is like, you should honestly tour every school on the East Coast in February because it gives you a way more realistic idea of what you'll actually be experiencing for 5-6 months of the year. But really fell in love with Boston. So that's kind of why I chose BU. Additionally, my brother was out in Rhode Island for school already. So I had kind of had my brother out there too, not that far away. So I kind of wanted to get out of California and see, 4 years on the other side of the States.
So going through your resume and, I saw you need LinkedIn. And by the way, I stalked you on LinkedIn. So I went full stalker mode on you.
Good.
So you were in high school, you played soccer and you also were in the theater department too. Like you performed theater, and then you went on to do some improv, like you did some improv in high school and in college.
Yes.
And I was curious a little bit just talk to us about that. How did you get into improv and talk about the first time that you actually got on stage and did do that?
Yeah. So I grew up watching Whose Line Is It Anyways? If you guys watch that show, it's so funny. Always loved improv, always been not that afraid of public speaking necessarily or getting in front of a crowd. So I actually went to all girls Catholic school, and they did actually have an improv team, but it wasn't very good. So I went to the boys' school's improv team, and I decided to audition there, which they allowed girls to be on the team. So my first year on the team, I was actually the only girl on the team. And then my second year, it was me and one other girl. So I did learn a lot about high school boys in those couple of years. Probably could have known less, but
yeah, that's a big.
I knew I wanted to do something with that. With soccer, I was super busy. I did play full time, so it was really hard for me to join a play or to join improv. It was basically something I could only do about once a week. And then the shows. But then my final year, my senior year after soccer finished out, I was able to do a comedy play at the boys' school as well. And that was really fun to be able to actually perform and like be a main character in a show.
Right.
So I enjoy it. I never thought I could memorize things. That's why I did improv. But you get a whole book and you have all these lines. You just do it over and over again. And eventually you just get it down and the show happens and you're like, wow, I didn't forget any of my lines. It just works that way. Your brain's able to get it with repetition. But I love improv because it helps me all the time in sales with Hilton, with food blogging, when I'm talking to people at the restaurant, or when I'm doing my little cooking show that I do sometimes. If I don't know exactly what to say, I'll just, you just improvise it. So it's a super good skill to have.
Yeah, having that quick-witted, you have to be quick-witted too to really succeed in that, and it's not easy. When I first started acting and I started doing the improv, I felt like a deer in headlights. I'm like,
oh yeah, definitely.
How did you kind of were you when you first got up there? Were you pretty comfortable? Did you just kind of start ripping up there and going?
There's actually a lot of training that goes into improv. I'm sure you've heard of UCB or Second City Improv before. Yeah. They have tiered courses, and a lot of it has to do with being on an improv team. If you're on a team with the same people and you're practicing once or twice a week, you end up getting this kind of like thing called group mind, where you can almost anticipate what your scene partner is going to say or like where the scene's going. So there's supposed to be like a sort of timeline that happens where the scene happens and you're building and then you hit a climax, but then you have to figure out like how to make it like funny to end or like get out, or how to like what note to end it on. So that's why you sometimes see like people running across, they end the scene, and like even though it's not a complete story, it's like, okay, this scene is as funny as it's going to get. If it goes any further, it might get unfunny. Like, so you have to just kind of cut it. I mean, I was so nervous for my first shows. Definitely. Actually, almost every show, you're pretty nervous because you don't know what the audience is going to say. And it's all audience-based suggestions.
Sure.
Brian, were you there when I led the improv at the Hilton?
Yeah, it was. Sales training.
Thanks, whatever it's called.
Whatever that kickoff was, but
the kickoff, the sales kickoff, it
was very cool.
You never know what people are going to say or do, and it's really funny, especially if you get a bunch of people who don't know how to do improv, because then on top of like trying to like tell people what to do, people are like crazy. They don't know any of the rules of improv, which like, number one rule of improv is always say yes, like go with the flow, or else you'd be like, hi, like I'm a mailman, I'm here to give you your mail. You're like, no, you're not. You're like, okay, well, where's this scene going, right? You're supposed to be like, yes, you are my mailman. Thanks so much. So it's kind of funny because people don't know all that. And then everyone's just like, no, and they're like, gonna get a fight. And you're like, wait, this is not funny. So it gets all over the place.
So is that why you decided to become a food blogger? You figured, you know what, I don't have to deal with, I could just, look at food and give my analysis and what I like and don't like, and rather than have to improv over people going in different directions.
Well, I think they honestly go more hand in hand, if anything, but I love food. I've taken like French and Italian cooking courses like back at BU, and I would consider myself like someone who's Epicurean in a way. Like I love to try new things. Like I'm not afraid to try the craziest thing on the menu. I was just taking photos of all my food. I'd be like, don't touch it. Like no one eat, like, because I wanted the pictures, I wanted the memories. And I had a friend who was doing food blogging in San Diego, and she was just kind of like starting off. And we went to this meal and everything was complimentary, and it was a steakhouse, and we got the seafood tower. And I was just like, holy crap. Like, are you saying if I actually try with my food pictures and editing, try to build a following, that like I can do this? That was kind of my motivation. So I just decided, especially with the pandemic and our industry getting hit so hard, I did have like some extra time. So I was like, let me just really focus on this and try to build it up as much as I can. And now I am like seeing that. But beyond just getting the perks of free food, there is a lot of work that goes into it that the restaurants do require, like a certain amount of posts, writing on their Yelps, creating a certain amount of stories. So, and then with all the editing and videos, I make videos for the restaurants too, but it's definitely worth it. I mean, I love the chances of taking my friends and family out. So I get these like social experiences out of it too, which I really enjoy, being with my friends once or twice a week for a meal. And they just have to know that I have to take a bunch of photos and then they can eat it. So it's not too bad of a gig as a friend coming along with me.
Yeah.
So do you have to get permission? Do you have to get permission from restaurants to go in, or is it something?
Yeah, it's pre-planned. Usually I just do it over Instagram or email. But it's either them reaching out to me, or sometimes I reach out to restaurants and ask if they're interested in what's called a collaboration. But I can't just show up and be like, look how many followers I have. Like, I want a free meal.
Well, I don't know if you were giving them like a courtesy when you're giving them you're going through their food and saying, because sometimes people would say, well, yeah, now you're telling them ahead of time, so you have to wait in line, because you're not going to say, oh, this food sucked.
I mean, a lot of times we still do have to wait in line, depends on it. Like, I don't really like to take away from the customer experience, especially for those who are paying. So, I mean, I'll wait in line if it's more like a counter type of restaurant place. Like, I work with a lot of fried chicken restaurants. Honestly, like hot chicken and fried chicken is so popular in San Diego now. There's like, I've been to like 6 new restaurants in the last year that have popped up. So I actually run one of the hot chicken's TikTok's account.
Really?
So I make
TikTok account for
a hot chicken restaurant.
Wow. So, okay, do they tell you what you have to order? Like, do they ahead of time say, these are the 3 things that we want you to push out?
Sometimes not usually what you have to order, but it would be like you get 2 entrees and a bottle of wine, or you get 2 entrees Like, let's say, or like you get 2 bagel sandwiches and 2 coffees if it's like a breakfast place. Or one time I just got $100 credit. So that could be the case. But most of the time they just let me order whatever I want. And it could be like multiple things.
So Kaylee, do you think this is not going to be a San Diego infomercial, I promise. But Kaylee, do you, or maybe we should make it one. Kaylee, do you think San Diego is underrated when it comes to restaurants? And when you were in Boston, I know you weren't doing what you were doing now in terms of your passion, but where do you think San Diego falls in terms of dining experiences compared to other cities that you've been to?
I would say San Diego and Boston are maybe more similar now. Maybe not San Diego like 5 years ago, even though it's different. I think San Diego is super up and coming, while Boston has some like old classics that have like been there forever. I mean, like I love Barking Crab. I love Abe and Louie's. I love Joe's American. Like there's so many restaurants there. I love all like the Lolitas and their restaurant group, like Yvonne's. And I mean, there's so many good restaurants in Boston that I went to, especially seafood. I would say seafood in Boston is better than seafood in San Diego. Mm-hmm. But obviously Boston doesn't have Mexican. So they don't come close to the Mexican food in San Diego or California. So I think it kind of depends what you're looking for, but I would say they're like almost the same tiered in like cities with like food. Like they're not going to be the New York, LA, Chicago, SF even tier. We're like that one tier below.
Not a bad place to be.
It's not bad. It's not bad. Like, you know what? For someone like me, like with up and coming city, it's way easier. Like I feel like if you live in LA and you do food blogging, it's so competitive. Like everyone's a food blogger there. Versus in San Diego, like I already know who all the food bloggers are. There's like 10 or 15 like people, and like I see them and we all go to the same places because they go have influencer events and they invite 10, 15 people, and it's like all the same people there. So you know, like the scene's not that big, and they know who's following these certain people in San Diego. Versus I feel like in New York or LA, there's hundreds and thousands of like major food bloggers, but there's also way more restaurants too. Like New York, there's like a freaking restaurant in every corner, right? So
yeah,
it's a little different.
Your Instagram, just I wanted to point that out. It's on Instagram, you're at Kailey_eats. So it's KAILEY_eats on Instagram. And then you have a YouTube page as well.
Yeah. There's not too much on there, but I'm uploading more.
Yeah. I saw your, was it your dog?
Yeah. Yeah.
Made a guest appearance.
You went full stalker status.
Full stalker status.
Jesus.
I got one like later for a question for you. I'm not going to blow you away because you're going to probably be like, where the hell did you get that? But we'll get to it. We'll get to
the
it.
podcast comes to an end.
Yeah. I know. Kaylee, she's like, Brett, enough.
I have a friend in New York. He's not a food blogger or anything. He's actually a hotel guy. And I ask him, you know, his name is Eddie. Eddie, what's your favorite restaurant like in New York? And he can't tell me because he's afraid he's going to offend another restaurant. Like, are you comfortable with saying, here are my 3 or 4 restaurants that I really like and I recommend, or are you got to be careful because you might leave one off?
No, I don't care. I'd say it. I don't know who Eddie is, but so like in San Diego?
Yeah, what would you say your top 5 are?
So people ask me this all the time. Like I'll have like people be like, hey, I'm coming to visit San Diego. Like I love your Foodstagram. Where should I eat? But I always am like, where are you staying? Like, are you staying in the Gas Lamp? Are you staying up in La Jolla? Because I don't want to send people like all the way over one direction or the other because they don't have a car or something. But I would say like my favorite Italian restaurant is called Cesarina. It's in like Point Loma area, but I also really like Catania, which is in La Jolla. And then third, I like Barbusa, and that's in Little Italy. So those that would be like Italian. For Mexican food, I love Tacos El Gordo. And I also love Taco Stand, which is a chain. Those are my favorite tacos. For a little higher end Mexican, like up in Old Town, I like El Agave. For seafood, I like Ironside in Little Italy. I think that's the best. Like that's the only lobster roll I eat in San Diego. So that's my favorite. For Chinese, I like Dumpling Inn and Convoy. There's a lot of little good places in Convoy. For sushi, I like Sushi Oda. That's in North PB up by the 5 freeway. And I don't know. Is there another cuisine I can do?
You know what? My one restaurant that I like, she left off.
Oh, what's that?
Anime.
Oh, anime is good.
Brian, have you been to a lot of these places that she's mentioning?
No, I haven't been. Because she knows I'm kind of in and out pretty quick. But I eat. Anime is fairly new, and it's in a really good.
Yeah, like maybe only 2 years old, right? Yeah, I think.
And then in a second, I want to talk to you. You mentioned about the restaurant scene. I want to touch on that if we can. But so Kaylee was talking, and this was what makes San Diego very interesting, and I think what you do sort of interesting, Kaylee, because San Diego is very spread out. And you have La Jolla, which has some super upscale restaurants out there. And then you kind of have the waterfront. And the waterfront, believe it or not, is fairly like new in like this last 10 years. So you picture these people that own these restaurants, where they want to go and where their research is and where they think going to get. Like, what do you talk to them at all in terms of where they think one restaurant will make sense versus, because some fail, some of them are there for like 6 months and they're gone. It's so hard, even before the pandemic.
I started making a couple things. So I've lived in PB, Pacific Beach area. And then now I live in like the North Park University Heights area. And then obviously I'm familiar with like all 3 areas of the hotels we sell just because of that reason alone, which is La Jolla, Mission Valley, and downtown. So I started making lists of all my favorite restaurants in that neighborhood. So I really just have like a bullet point list of 10 top 10 restaurants in PB that range from like literally grabbing a taco to like sitting down on the ocean. So so if someone's staying in PB, like I would rather just screenshot and like send that list to them. And I also have it in my Instagram highlights. So my Instagram highlights have every single neighborhood in San Diego. So if you click it, you'll see my stories and it will show all the restaurant experiences and the tagged restaurants I've been to in those neighborhoods.
That's cool.
So it's a long
list. That's like a good way to
kind of homework to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so once you story and go to a restaurant, Instagram just allows you to like at a later date, go through your stories and add them to that. So if I'm eating, do you know what? I actually forgot to mention my favorite restaurant, which is Crust, which is in Mission Hills, Mission Hills Hillcrest area.
Yep.
And they're part of the Trust restaurant group. There's Fort Oak, Cardellino, and Trust, and then they have Mr. Trusty Ice Cream, and they just opened Wise Ox. They're like my favorite restaurant group in San Diego in terms of all the restaurants just being good. They're all in that like Mission Hills, North Park, Hillcrest area.
So if I was going to make a trip to San Diego, or anyone else, the listeners, is there a way they could just reach out to you and you would say, you know what, these are the restaurants I recommend. Pricing, here's the pricing. If you like steak, you can go here. Do you do that a lot of times, or is that something where you're just getting friends reaching out to you now?
It's more, well, they're not even friends, they're just followers most of the time that they probably go on Instagram and they search like food blogger San Diego, or they search like San Diego food or San Diego foodie. Like you can search via hashtags on Instagram, and then like my profile might pop up, and then because like, oh wow, I really like her food. And then they can DM me and say like, hey, like, where should I eat? I'm in San Diego this weekend. I'm coming from wherever.
When you go to Vegas, you get like, some people have, casino hosts, or you have, when we went to Vegas, we had a friend out there who has his own business. And he was like, I signed up, you take you to this club or that club. Whereas it wouldn't be a bad business idea, right? You're saying, hey, I want to contact you, for the whole weekend. What places are you recommending I go to? And, because you're doing all the work, you're offering the services. Why shouldn't you be paid accordingly to do that?
Yeah, exactly. And, half the places I recommend are places I don't even have collaborations with. So, I mean, a lot of the restaurants that I recommend are higher end and I need to have more followers, or they just don't even do collaborations in general. So I'm not somebody to only recommend places that restaurants have worked with me, because even though I love those restaurants and I had very little bad experiences with the food blogging, most of the places have been really, really amazing and the food's been very good. I would always recommend restaurants that I believe are just truly good, that I pay for myself. Because I don't want to send someone to bad restaurants. I want them to like San Diego and come back and host an event with us.
Yeah, the weather does like 80% of that for you.
Yeah.
Especially coming from the East Coast.
in February.
Yeah.
Things she said. So
daylight savings time.
Back at 4:00. Yeah. So Kaylee, one of the things that I think I've learned just last few minutes is that really this isn't like there's a process to this. It's work, but you have fun. I mean, the pictures that I see. I mean, you're enjoying yourself. So it's work at a certain time. You really have fun.
Yeah, it's like work and play for sure. I think sometimes it can get overwhelming. Like sometimes I'm so stressed like about going to my reservation to eat for free. It sounds so silly, but like sometimes like with the time, like I do spend so much of my free time food blogging that you do lose time, for yourself. And because it is somewhat work and play, it's like, okay, well, this is for myself. Like I have to eat, I have to, I get to go out and enjoy this for free with my friends and family. So I try to put it in like a really positive life and not get stressed about it. Most of the restaurants don't give me deadlines. So like if I'm so busy and I can't really edit my photos and my pictures right away, I usually have a few days to be able to post it. I was at the point where I was posting every single morning when it was less busy. And then now I only post probably 2 or 3 times a week, just with my current schedule of how many restaurants I'm able to collab with. But yeah, it's definitely fun, and the work is not like so hard. Making the videos is probably the most work, but it's also, I enjoy it so much more than photo editing. Like I love making videos. I think it's more creative. Like I like having to pick the right song to like sync with the photos and like having like, everything climax to be like a really intriguing visual video. So that part I think is the most fun, but it's also the most like time consuming versus I do like very similar edits on all my photos. And yes, it takes, maybe like 20, 30 minutes to get everything done and then post it. I like the videos a lot more.
What do you, for someone that's food blogging or maybe someone that's in a similar industry, like Brian's he's been working on the videos for us for YouTube and diving into that. But if someone's coming into the food blogging, like what are some of the apps that you go to that you find pretty like easy to use that, someone could, jump into it and kind of learn it?
So, I mean, Instagram obviously has its own filters and things like that, but I wasn't happy with how Instagram's filters were coming or the iPhone's filters either. So the 2 apps that I use are called Snapseed and then Adobe, like the Photoshop app. So Adobe Lightroom allows you to lighten photos, remove shadows, increase like ambiance and vibrance of colors, make things glow, make things just like look really, really nice. Both those apps do that. And then for videos, for like my cooking videos, I use InShot, which basically allows you to take multiple takes and combine them into like one video with like easy transitions. And it's also like has like an edit so that it will turn your video into like how your iPhone views it, like on Instagram, like it has like that same grid. Gotcha. So you can edit it to be more for YouTube or edit it to be more for Instagram. So those are the 3 main apps that I use.
Does InShot charge for that?
No.
Because I know Adobe, obviously there's like a monthly if you're using their, that whole software.
And there's some apps that like I paid like 99 cents for to like get more like filters or edits for, but like I haven't done like the full on subscriptions to anything yet. I'm happy with the way my photos are coming out so far. If anything, what I need to do is upgrade my camera and get like a higher end camera, but they're like $2,000. So my camera is like $400. So I'm like, maybe I sell that and then go somewhere in the middle. But that's like the cameras that the food bloggers use that are for like magazines, like more professional side. They're about like $2,000. And they just have this like they're really good at getting close up. So like there's certain cameras that are better for like blogging, like just like looking at yourself, like what the YouTubers use. And then there's better cameras that are for like, photographers in nature, taking like, far away scenes of mountains and trees, things like that. And then there's for the food, which is really, you're basically right up in front of it and you want to pick up those colors and those textures. So that camera, it would be, if I continue to like really try to pursue this more and more professionally. And like, I think I still always want to do this as my side gig because I love doing it. And it's just, it's fun. And I like promoting San Diego and I like food blogging. It's a fun hobby for mine.
So do you, Go ahead.
Do you eat? I mean, I'm looking at you. I mean, if anyone wants to see food, I mean, they need to take a look at your Instagram page, right? Because I'm looking at the food on here and I'm thinking, if I was to eat half of this, I'd probably drop. I mean, there's no way. I mean, the food here is unbelievable. One and two, there's a large amounts. I mean, how do you?
How am I so skinny?
Yeah, well, that's one. Yeah, and then two, how do you? I mean, do you eat all this? I mean, really, people need to.
I bring friends, so I do bring friends. Usually one, maybe two. And yeah, I do eat a lot, but I have changed kind of my dieting in a way where, like, if I'm going to be going to a hot chicken place and be getting like tenders, 2 sandwiches, loaded fries, fried pickles, all this stuff, like I'll just eat that as my only meal of the day. I'll just make it for lunch. And then maybe I'll have like a yogurt or like a smoothie or something. If I eat like that much in one sitting, like I'm basically it's full. Like I don't need to eat that much more the rest of the day. But I do work out like 4 times a week. So that's part of it. I do yoga sculpt and I run a lot. So that's
I just was more amazed at, like, we're not talking small portions here. We're talking they giving you, like, you know, if you go to a restaurant, you're not even talking. I mean, these are impressive.
Absurd amount of food. Yeah.
I'm ready to move to San Diego and just follow you around.
Yeah, you can come with me. You're invited.
Can you wear those headphones with him when he goes with you?
I can. And I'll probably get him for free.
He's married to those, Kaylee.
Yeah.
Kaylee, what do you think about his headphones? Those are big time.
I mean, you guys all look like you're kind of wearing similar headphones. I don't think you guys really have room to talk.
Thank you very much. My headset's
a little bit bigger. Yeah. But he also has a slightly bigger head than you guys.
That's true.
That's for sure.
And he's coming back.
Listen, right now, these are going to have their own Instagram page.
Yeah.
They already have their own Twitter account.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Kaylee, you're a team of one? You have friends that help you with the camera. You do your own editing, but you have people that come in and help you with product placement.
Yeah, like if my friends come, they'll like help take a photo of me. But I even I've recently ordered like a tripod, so like I can even do it doesn't look like I'm the one taking the selfie. Like I can time it and have people have the tripod take the photo of me. But usually with just the amount of food and doing it, like it's not that fun doing it alone. Like I'd like to share food with people. I think I feel the same way about cooking. Like if you like cook for yourself versus when you like cook for your family or friends, like you want to do like a better job. You want to cook something like nicer versus like for yourself, you might just make something really simple because it's like who are you trying to impress? So I like blogging with other people and I think it's fun. And, you know, my friends get a free meal of it. I also take pictures of them if they want a picture of themselves. So I used to do like a lot of like first bite videos, which I've kind of phased out of. I'm not that good at first bites. So I used to always hold my camera and like bite a burger or like take pasta and bite it. And I literally got it so all over my face. A lot of my followers were like, don't stop doing that. Like, it's so funny. It's like very real. Like that's how people eat. But I ended up trying to take more professional videos of just like the food and myself. And I still think like every once in a while, I'll try to give a good first bite video, but like I never got better at it. I don't know how they do it on like the Food Network when they like finish cooking their meals and then they go and take a bite and it's like boiling hot, like straight out of the oven or straight out or whatever it is. And they just eat it and then talk and they get nothing on their face. Especially Guy Fieri from Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Like, I don't know how he is able to eat everything he eats and not get it all over himself. Oh, he's the king.
Okay, we will help you eat the food.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then we also have someone at 78 Bretsky Productions that can help edit it to help provide value for us joining you on
Is that you?
No, that's our production team.
Yes.
So did you start doing this because of the pandemic? Was this something you were doing before the pandemic? And how did the pandemic affect it one way or the other?
I started in 2018 for friends and family, just like cooking and like, well, they would be like, hey, look, I went to this restaurant or whatever. And then in 2020 is when I like really, like, I mean, I probably had like 150, 200 people following me back then, was like literally just friends and family. And then now I'm close to like 6,000 followers or so. So that way, that's like how I've been building it. And before I wasn't collabing with like any restaurants. So mostly I would say it's been like a pandemic project, but I like to say that like I've always been pretty interested in it for the last 3 years, and even started like a little personal food stud just for my friends and family, because I was constantly just posting food on my own Instagram, and then wanted to kind of transition out of just posting it on there and having like a place. And the reason I wanted to do it is I would go to these restaurants and then I would like forget the name or like forget what I ordered. And I'd get like so upset because I'm like, what was that restaurant that we went to like back in whatever at that place? And like we just spontaneously went there and it was so good. I wouldn't remember. So I was like, I need to like post and like blog about it and like write what I got and like tag it so I can remember where it was. And that was kind of like my inspiration for starting it. And then same with my own recipes, is like I think of a recipe in my head that I thought sounded really good. And then I don't like keep a recipe book or write anything down. So I was like, I think a good way to do it would just like take photos and like write all the ingredients out, and then my friends can see it. And then I also can refer back to that recipe myself.
What is Korean cheese? What is a Korean cheese dog and what is boba?
Oh my God. Okay, there is boba in Boston, by the way. So you can definitely get it there. Kung Fu tea is my favorite. It's in Allston. I don't know how close you guys are to Allston or not. Obviously, that's where I lived when I was in Boston. But so Korean cheese corn dogs are very new. That's like the newest fad, I would say. It's like a corn dog. Have you ever been to Hot Dog on a Stick?
No, but I've seen like
and like the mall.
No,
they're like corn dogs,
yeah,
right? But they also have one that's full of cheese. Yeah, full of cheese. It's similar to that, but instead of being corn, it's like a rice flour on the outside, so it's a little bit like crispier. And then they'll basically put like a mozzarella stick on the inside, or a hot dog, or both. And then they fry it, and you can do what's called like cheese pulls, which is like really popular in like ASMR and like mukbang, if you've seen those videos before.
What is it, ASMR?
Yeah,
it might be in a thing. Do I not know?
Have you ever seen the videos of people eating, and they put that like on a microphone like yourself?
Yeah.
But they'd be eating, and it'd be like really picking up on all the sounds of the crunching.
Derek watches those videos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, all the
late
crunching.
At night when I have nothing else to do.
Yeah, and sometimes the videos are just them, like just their mouth, like eating it. And
that's a thing,
people really like people eating like super soupy slurpy noodles or really crunchy fried chicken, or like doing like a big cheese pull and then like bringing it back and eating it.
It sounds like a fetish. It sounds like a fetish.
Yeah, it's like a foot fetish.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's like slurping noises as you're eating. I could do without that. I don't need to get the whole moaning
I think it's
and groaning.
a love it or hate it thing, because these people, they have like 15 million followers plus all like more, even more, hundreds of millions of views of them eating.
So if I can, because we were talking about followers last week. Derek, how you doing on your 326 followers?
Yeah.
I've moved up a little bit.
Yeah, that's good.
People show me pity, so I appreciate that every once in a while.
So a couple questions, Kaylee. First question, have you ever gone to a restaurant and it was just not a good experience? Service, food, you just had to, hey, it's going to do this for the next hour. Has been wins every single time?
I would say there's places I've gone where like the service hasn't been that great, or for me, it's sometimes you can tell it's like some marketing manager or PR company that's like running their Instagram account. So then like I'll show up at the restaurant and they'll be like, we don't know who you are. And I'll have to like show them messages and be like, hey, like, here's the invitation I received saying like I have a table for 2 at 6 p.m. and that everything's taken care of. And they'll be like, oh, I don't know what this is. I have to speak to my manager. I don't know. No. So it's just like awkward because you like don't want to like force yourself on it. Like the best restaurants are those who like know who you are, expect you're coming, and then give you like good treatment, because I will put in extra work and do way better job on my photos, my videos, the amount of posts I do. I do even give them 2 posts sometimes if I really love my experience, versus a place that really is like, I don't care about you as an influencer. Like, this isn't my job, like whatever, like I'm just gonna be like anybody else. Then I'll be like, okay, fine. Like, here's my 1 post that I promised you I would do. And I think like service goes a long way. Like we know that in our job. So if I don't have time and treat someone badly and they don't choose my hotel, makes sense, right? Like that's kind of how it is. So I would say there's only one like place I went to that I actually like spit it out because I did not like their food whatsoever. It happened to be in LA. I was doing a weekend like collab tour. So I went to like 6 restaurants in like 2 days in Los Angeles. And I got this fried octopus ball. So basically, have you ever seen those things like where they have those like trays that are heated and they have like little divots in them and they like flip them over like the little balls? Like, they do it with pancakes sometimes like in Europe, but it would like that, but with a ball, and inside was like an octopus seafood chowder slush. And I thought it would be like more like calamari type of like fried ball, but I bit into it and it's like a seafoody raw octopus water went into my mouth.
Can you tell us when that was?
Not swallow it. I couldn't.
Brian loves this because Brian loves, and I mean loves, seafood.
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask you a question, Kaylee? Have you ever heard an Italian that doesn't like tomatoes? Seriously.
No, I like tomatoes.
Do you think of any Italians that don't like tomatoes?
I like tomatoes. I choose not to eat them at certain times. I won't.
So, Kaylee, you answered my second question because I was going to ask you if you do it in other cities. You said you were in LA. You do it like you're in Palm Springs right now. Are you doing it while you're there too, or is that?
This time I'm not, but I have had one collaboration in Palm Springs. Honestly, I didn't have time to reach out to that many people to let them know I was coming. So that was mostly just on me. So yeah, I would say for collaboration, I have the opportunity to do like LA, Palm Springs, like probably Bay Area. I do have even one for the next time I'm home. This restaurant group said I could come to collab there since I told them I'm from San Jose and the restaurant was in San Jose. So definitely California, because I think a lot of people are just like moving back and forth between Northern California and Southern California. But like recently I went to New York back in March, and I didn't even really try to collaborate because I knew I was going to like Peter Luger's. I'm like, they're not gonna do it. But I think it'd be interesting like to try to see if other cities would, because I do brand myself as a San Diego food blogger. So I would have to maybe like change my brand position to just being more food blogger, like anywhere, everywhere. But at the same time, like you kind of do better being in one city. Like they're like, hey, I'm going to San Diego. I can look at this profile and all I'm going to see is San Diego. And then maybe LA and Palm Springs pop up, but that's like obviously like 2-hour drive each way, right? It's not like that off the scale versus looking at mine and being like, oh, she was in Chicago, then she was in Boston, then she was in New York, then she was in Phoenix, then she was in San Diego for a while, and then she did a different trip. Like, I feel like it's not a cohesive page. There's dog.
No guest star.
Not a cohesive page. So that's kind of why I try to keep most of my collaborations in just San Diego.
Let me ask you something. To become a food blogger, was it hard to get your foot in the door and to gain credibility because you're the new person on the block and, you know, everyone's trying to get in there? And, you know, how do you build your credibility from there? It's just starting off.
I think you just do a good job. Like it wasn't really hard for me to build credibility, I would say. I'm still trying to build my follower base. I think right now it's like, I'm really trying to just get a lot of like San Diegans to follow me, because I have a lot of other foodie driven people follow me versus like just some random local guy or gal in San Diego just being like, I want to know where the best food spots are. So I'm trying to get like more and more like locals or just like regular people following my account versus more people in the Instagram world. So that's kind of like my main project moving forward. But I would say if you edit photos well and you do a good job for the restaurant and you keep showing that, other restaurants will continue to reach out to you, and then the credibility just kind of builds on itself. If you're going to post bad pictures that don't look good or not post the restaurant, I think word will get around, and you know you're not going to do well as a food blogger.
So you reach out to certain restaurants and you would say, hey, I'm starting off as a food blogger. You know, would you like to give me the opportunity to give you a review? Is that what you did? I
basically had to build almost like 2,000, 3,000 followers before the collaborations really started happening with like regular restaurants. Like sometimes I could get like a taco shop or something, but most of those first posts were like me eating out myself and like taking photos. So you got to kind of spend your own money at the beginning. And then the collaborations like start coming in, and I would follow so many people and reach out to like a ton of restaurants every single day saying, will you collab with me? Will you collab with me? Will you collab with me? And now I don't really do that. I wait for restaurants to reach out to me for the most part, because I usually get enough restaurants interested. And now I even turn down some restaurants because it will be like some like strip mall place, like way up in East San Diego that I don't really want to go to because
I'll cover those when I come out. I'll cover those ones.
You one of those ones, you'll come with me. Okay.
Kaylee eats with Brian from
Brian from Boston.
So sometimes I even turn them down because I'm like, I don't want to drive 30 minutes like away to review a taco shop and then drive 30 minutes back. It just kind of depends on my schedule. So that's, I try to stay in San Diego. I try to stay between probably like La Jolla and Chula Vista. And then as east as maybe just like Mission Valley, North Park. Like I try to stay in that 20-minute radius, I guess. I don't really like to go like so east or so north because I feel like I'm kind of getting out of like that main San Diego food scene where like if you were somebody looking to go in San Diego and you're like looking at my Instagram, like you'd want to see places in San Diego. So that's why I always like accept like places in like the Gaslamp, because that's like the heart of San Diego, especially for like tourists.
Well, if you ever go to Aria, find yourself in Vegas, just say the name Derek DiPetrillo. They don't care if you just use that name.
Yes.
And you'll be like
Aria.
He might have spent some quality time there in the last couple of years. So just
is he a top gambler?
He doesn't want to brag, but
yeah. I probably donated a portion of that hotel somewhere along the line.
Right. Okay.
So Kaylee, tell us again. Give us your Instagram page, your YouTube page. Let us, and then we're gonna obviously, hopefully, collaborate with you and help each other. So
you'll be coming to San Diego to eat for free. Yeah.
You'll have to forward me you have to forward me, especially anime when they reach out to you. But let us give us all your handles and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm just at Kailey Kailey _eats EATS. My Instagram, my YouTube is just Kaylee Daniels on YouTube, so that's simple. But I do most of my blogging through Instagram, so that's my main form. I'm also Kaylee Daniels on TikTok. So if you want to follow me on TikTok, feel free to follow me on there. I post a lot of videos on there. I actually just got 10,000 views on the last video I posted. So.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Found interesting.
You don't eating chicken. So you never know what's going to get viral.
Was it the crunchy sounds too?
No, I can show you it if you want to see it.
You'll have to. You know what, Kayla? You'll have to send it to us. So we'll import it.
It's a trend. It's like if you guys don't know the TikTok trends, it might not make sense what I'm doing and why I decided to play this certain music and pause a video of me eating chicken in my mouth. But it makes sense to those who use TikTok.
Derek, I just thought of something. There's no reason not to record yourself eating chicken just to see how many more followers you get.
That's a good idea,
I will probably lose followers at that point.
No. You'll gain.
I'm sure. Apparently, it seems like the case.
Hashtag mukbang, hashtag ASMR, hashtag chicken eating, and you will get so many followers.
Well, now that you've been on a podcast, because I see in here that you've never really, listened to them much. You think about doing a podcast on your own where you interview people and get their own feedback from restaurants and stuff?
Honestly, I would consider in the future, but right now I don't have the time to do something like it. So I'm happy to be on your guys' podcast, but I probably won't ever start a podcast of my own. I'm very new to the podcast world. I don't listen to too many myself. I have some friends and family that do listen. I have listened in the car with them, and Brian sent me his, and I listened to your guys' first podcast. But I am getting into the podcast world, so I'm very new to it, but I know most of the time you guys are in person all together and it's recorded, not necessarily on video like this one is, right? That's how usual.
No, we've been actually normally you would do that, but because of this, I'm in Connecticut, these guys are in Mass, so we've been doing this all virtually and having our guests come on virtually, but I think down the road potentially.
I don't know if we can be in the same room, Kaylee, probably for more than
that's true. This might be our last podcast.
Kaylee, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Food bloggers.
Yeah, I got a question for you. Talk to us about positioning and marketing in the hospitality industry. It's not about creating something new or different, but manipulating what's already up there in the mind.
I don't know where you were going with this at first.
Like in the hospitality world, having to position things, like in my sales job with Hilton.
No, so this goes back to, like I told you, I was totally stalking you to find out research on like some interesting facts. So you did something at BU, I think was like a presentation.
Oh my God. Are you literally looking at my presentation from my junior year of college?
No, you like tweeted something. You had like a picture of you in front of it. And it says position and marketing in the hospitality industry. And then it has your quote. It's not about creating something new or different, but manipulating what's already up there in the mind.
Very cool. Very cool.
What does that mean?
So that was a part of a hospitality and marketing club that I was in college. And I did a presentation for the people in the club about positioning. So positioning and marketing, like if you think about things that exist in the world, it probably already exists. It's really hard to think of something brand new that doesn't exist. Like, for example, there's already thousands of podcasts. There's already thousands of food bloggers. You think of a brand new innovation and you see those funny ones like avocado cutters, banana cutters, things like that exist in the Amazon world. It's really not about how to be the best new thing. It's how you position yourself as something different from what already exists in the market. How does Pepsi versus Cola position ourselves versus RC Cola or something like that?
Right.
Like, what are you? Like, are you the cheap brand? Are you the expensive brand? But you're exactly basically the same thing, but it's how you position and market yourself to be different for that consumer. So you don't really have to have a different product to be successful. You just have to market yourself to the right people with the right brand.
Gotcha. Thank you for answering.
I was like, where did this quote just come from? Like,
well, you're trying to prepare for like the things like you can, you have your sheet there. So you just try to research whatever you can find there to keep you on your feet.
No, you're good.
So thank you for joining us. And I think it'd be fun to do some collaborating with you. We were talking about doing some Instagram live stuff. You ever come out here to Boston? We are going to try to get together and do some live stuff. So if you ever do,
nice. No, I need a trip back out to Boston. I haven't been since I graduated, so I'm due.
Well, the restaurant scene has changed here too. I mean, I was out for the first time in a year in the North End, and I saw the restaurant you were talking about. But we'll take you. There's this one town.
Here we go.
Salisbury, Massachusetts.
I knew this was going to bring.
I know Salisbury.
Cristaldi's Pizza. Oh my God. You'll be taking pictures and eating loud noises. You'll be getting 10 to 20,000 followers.
Oh my God.
So thank you again, Kaylee. We're going to make sure.
Guys.
But you know what, Kaylee?
We have question.
We have one question for you. Where is? All right, let me try.
No. Just it. Does your grocery store play good music?
I go to Trader Joe's. I don't know. Does Trader Joe's play music?
Well, it doesn't have to be Trader Joe's.
I think they
do you
do.
shop anywhere else? Do you shop anywhere else that plays great music?
I'm so diehard Trader Joe's. Like, I only go to Vons, which is like our main grocery store, when they don't have that specific ingredient at Trader Joe's. I'm like a diehard Trader Joe's girl. I grew up on Trader Joe's. Like, the recipes I have are based off a Trader Joe's product. Like, that's how diehard I am. So all I know is that the Trader Joe's cashiers do flirt with you. They make you feel great, and they're super friendly, and they never get upset if you ask where something is. So I always go there. Do I know what music they play? No.
I just want to point out.
I used to go to Star Market. I don't remember the music they played either there, though.
I just want to point out that was the first time me and my brother were actually in sync. One of the gentlemen that we had on a recent interview, we had like his thing was that he found the best music. I asked him about music, and he said basically the best music that he hears is at one of the local grocery stores in New Hampshire. And
wow, New Hampshire's where it's at then, I guess, for the music scene.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I've been in there. And
San Diego got nothing on New Hampshire.
Well, it's funny. Last week, our guest was from LA, and she said Trader Joe's. Well, she mentioned Trader Joe's, but I don't know if she said music. It's just
we'll have to contact their director of entertainment just to see what they're playing
at Trader Joe's.
We'll have to reach out.
Who the DJ is?
Yeah, Kaylee. I know it's dinner time, and I think someone's there is waiting for.
I'll be cooking tonight. I'm gonna be cooking some chicken, paillard, plantains, and beans. So if you want to see me cook some Caribbean food, I'll put it on my story tonight.
Oh,
click on
for sure.
Tag us.
Yeah, I'll tag you guys.
Is that the right term? Is that the right term? I'm learning.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, Brian will be sleeping by then.
And by the way, this has been a margarita the whole time. I just want to make that.
We didn't know it was an adult beverage time.
I know. We didn't get the invite. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. See you later, Kaylee. Thank you. That was fun.
Yeah. Something different. Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting how one becomes a food blogger because I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Have you guys ever seen the movie Ratatouille? Have you seen Ratatouille?
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's a kid's cartoon. Yeah.
But the part of the movie, it's like one of those Disney movies. But one of the parts is that the mouse is a chef at a high-end fresh restaurant. The mouse is a chef at the high-end, and within the plot is a food critic that comes to the restaurant. It's funny only if you saw the.
I'm trying to remember that. Who was the food critic?
I keep thinking of food critics. They're like I feel like they're the new food critics in some regard.
I think that she can.
People get they get nervous. My God, she's coming.
Well, no, I think she could make like I said, like in Vegas, when you want to reach out to someone, hey, she could make a little side thing on it, saying, hey, you know what, I set up a service and people can reach out to me, and this is the restaurants I recommend, and and maybe even like get them reservations.
Yeah, no, I thought about that today. It was like, usually go to Google or Yelp, and then Derek, you asked the question I was going to ask, and like, can you just reach out to a blogger? I was like, yeah, why don't you just reach out to a blogger? That'd probably be a lot easier to say, hey, where should I go? Like, I'm looking for, Italian or a good steak tonight. Like, where do I go there? And I guess the part of it is like, do you feel like bothering them? But that's what they're there for, right?
Yeah, and she apparently says you can DM her, so that's what they're good for.
Yeah, she has a great page, and I look forward to seeing
her page is unbelievable.
She got some awesome pictures there.
Well, thank you again, everybody, for taking a listen to Three Guys Podcast. We appreciate, again, all the downloads. And as we mentioned in the beginning, we have some really great guests coming up. So, again, we appreciate all the hard work that the team at 78 Bretsky Production is doing. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You'll see some more exclusive content coming out soon on YouTube. Or there's some already there, but really some specific things that aren't necessarily going to be on. Of course, exclusive. It's not going to be on the podcast. So thank you again, and we'll see you guys all soon.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you to the team at 78 Bretsky Productions for putting together another great show of the Three Guys Podcast, and also to our listeners. We appreciate your support.